So if you're able to kind of relate to that story and you're battling with an internal struggle about making a commitment or making a decision, go with that gut and make that decision. Hey guys, what's up? Jose Savalza here, your host for the Making an Impact podcast. And if you guys recall, in last week's episode, I talked about commitment and the dedication that it takes to start something. So if you're able to kind of relate to that story and you're battling with an internal struggle about making a commitment or making a decision, and my special guest today is none other than my wife, who has really just made that commitment with me. You know, I want to share her side of things. I want to share her emotions, her feelings, her thoughts on all the commitments that I've made to better our family, but how it's really affected her and the sacrifices that she's had to make, the sacrifices that our families had to make in order to make our dreams a reality. So I guess, I'm going to, again, kind of rewind a little bit here. I'm going to go back to a quick story that we were just kind of talking about, right? Where I was driving through Texas. I get a call from a friend. My friend says, hey, you got to come back into the business. I shared this story with my wife, and I still vividly remember we were at a pool. Remember, we were at a pool. I think it was a weekend, and we had spent some time at this pool. It was a really nice pool. It was a Lifestyle Fitness right around the street from where we lived. And the kids were young. They were playing in the pool. And we were kind of like lounging around, and I just told her, hey, I think it's time for us to go home. And her very nonchalantly said, well, just grab our stuff and let's go. And I just kind of sat there in my feelings, in my thoughts. And I said, no, let's go home. And in hindsight, what I meant to say by let's go home was, let's go back home. Let's go back home to California. And that took a lot from you because, again, the sacrifice that you had to endure to quit your job, right, here in California, to, allow me to do what I needed to do, right, in another state. Right. And then for me to call an audible and say, okay, let's stop again, right, and let's start all over, because I know that, that was going to cause some things. Things weren't going to be the same if we came back to California. I wasn't going to have the job that I had in Texas where I was making pretty good money. That security right, blanket that we had at the moment, and I had to make that audible. I had to make that dedication. I had to make that commitment. And here we go again, right? So I kind of want to get your perspective, right? How did you feel, number one, on when I said, hey, we got to leave California and we just got to go here because this is the best thing for our family. You needed to quit your job. How did you feel?
It was a lot of sacrifice. I was obviously content in the job that I had, and we were comfortable, and we were happy. And I think when that conversation came up, it kind of caught me off guard because not only have we always lived in California, California was home, our family is there, we're very close to our family. We have good friends that we're also very fortunate to have that we're very close with. So when he brought that conversation up, I was like, wow, okay, I would have never expected us to move out of state and in a sense start over. But having faith in God and obviously in my husband, ever since we've dated, he's always been very driven. So that gave me peace. And I said, okay. I said, as a supportive wife, we're going to do it. And we made the decision and we left. So I think it was hard, but I think the faith that I had not only in God and our beliefs, but also in each other. I know we have each other's back and we were going to be fine.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think I've always, said that I appreciate the faith and that you had in me, and that's something that even now, right, I've kind of taken you through this roller coaster
definitely
of a
definitely.
Career because, it meant a total career change.
Right.
And I didn't know what that was going to entail. I didn't know what type of how much was necessary for me to do, right?
Right.
But I know it took a lot from you, and I think I want our audience to know that there's always the other side. Whether you're involved in real estate or a lender or in any, as a business owner, period, there's another, and if you have a spouse, a partner, there's their perspective. What are they going through? And that's, again, something that I really want to showcase today because, we were in Texas. We decided to go there, which caused a huge sacrifice. We left the family. We were there for just under a year. And then here Jose goes again, right?
Typical Jose, yes.
And good old Jose, right? Makes another hey, let's go back. Another change. Let's go back. So you were situated in California with a job. You quit your job there.
Right.
You kind of had a job in Texas. You quit that job too.
Yes.
To then follow, let's go back to California.
Move,
And then very, very shortly after, and I kind of knew this was going to happen, but very shortly after, I get a call and I was basically fired.
Right.
And, it kind of made me feel a certain way. And I leaned on you.
Right.
You're my support system. I leaned on you and I felt lost for, I think it was like a couple days.
Yeah, that was tough. That was very tough. I still remember there was one day where I was coming home from grocery shopping and he had an office on the left-hand side when you walk in. And I remember I walked in and I'm like, where is he? And I looked over and seeing you in that almost like, I guess, kind of depressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for me, I had to just jump right in. And I remember I walked in there and I just looked at you and I said, hey, we both made this decision. We knew what could happen, right? We knew that more than likely you were going to lose your job. And I said, we don't have time for this. And I remember I asked you, I said, what is it that you want to do? What makes you happy? And you said real estate. And I remember you had been looking for other jobs, in a sense, questioning the decision that you had made.
Right.
And I'm like, no. I said, you said you were going to make this happen. And I said, we're in. Like, we don't have time for this. And I remember I told you, I said, I'll support you. We went over our finances. And I said, I'm going to get a job. And you're going to get in there and you're going to go balls to the wall and make it happen. Yeah. And that's a conversation. Like I said, I'm sure it was harsh. I'm sure you weren't expecting it that way. But,
the famous 3 words that I always say that you told me was, do your thing.
Yes.
And I think even to this day, you tell me, do your thing, go do your thing. And that's all I needed. That's all I needed to just go. And I went.
You did.
I went. I went from being a brand new agent to being a top producing agent in a very, very short time. Yeah. Which caused other things.
Right.
Because I was working all the time. And we're talking about 6 days, 7 days a week. I was very, very committed to the decision I made. But even that commitment, brought issues.
Definitely.
It brought challenges to our home. It brought challenges to our relationship, most importantly, because I was so fixated on providing for us.
Making it happen.
And making things happen and making a name for myself and whatnot. But talk to us about how my commitment affected our relationship, how it affected our home. Because I know it did. I mean, I still remember those conversations.
I think it was, the lack of communication. And I think I got stuck and started feeling the negative emotions of, man, I've always sacrificed. And, there was just no balance at home, I know, obviously, I told you, you're going all in, you're going to make it happen. And you were doing your thing. I was doing my thing, because I went back to work. And obviously, taking care of the kids while you went out and, worked 7 days a week. So it took a toll on me emotionally because then I felt like I was doing it all. You know what I mean? And I guess just getting stuck in that negative emotion, started getting resentment, stuff like that. So I think that's where we dropped the ball, I guess, maybe, in not keeping that communication like we were before we came back to California. And just being on the same page. So it was frustrating, and just because like I said, lack of communication and there was no balance at home.
Yeah. And I think a lot of our audience suffers from the same thing, is lack of communication and always trying to find a balance. And we're no different. We're always pursuing that. We're always trying to get better with our schedule. We're trying to get better at our communication. And those 2 things were missing.
Definitely.
You know, but even to the point, I'll be very honest, and I promised everybody I'd be very transparent and vulnerable. I was downright almost disrespectful because there was times where we had, you know, a family day, a date planned, and my phone would ring and I'd take the call and I'd go out and show
Leave you
property
hanging?
and I'd leave you hanging, you know, which was, you know, in hindsight, again, caused issues,
Right.
you know, and my mindset at the time was, well, I'm providing for us, and isn't this the lifestyle that you want, and isn't this what I'm doing? But you know, I wasn't aware, and I'll flat out say I maybe even wasn't mature enough to really understand, you know, because I always knew you'd be there,
Right.
and me knowing that you'd always be there, I'd figured, well, you'll get over it.
Not only that, but I think I've always shown you that I'll get stuff I'll take care of stuff.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'll pick up the slack wherever it's needed. And also, you know, I take accountability for that, you know, and not, like I said, expressing how I was feeling to you during that time. But yeah, it was rough.
It was rough. It was tough for a while.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people here listening to us resonate with this a lot because, again, whether you're a business owner of some sort, whether you're a lender, a real estate agent, and trying to make things happen, I see you guys out there doing open houses. I see you guys out there working evenings and, you know, just putting the grind even during vacation time. You know what I mean? That was me. We didn't take vacations because I was afraid.
Right.
I was afraid that if the phone would ring or a client would be calling or I'd lose a client and things like that. And, you know, and I'll get to this later, but it wasn't until much later, much later, that I realized that it just wasn't worth it.
Right.
You know, so, you know, and these are still issues that we still kind of, you know.
Yeah, now we just handle it differently.
We handle it differently
We have
now.
our issues, and now it's like, oh, you know, instead of, you know, low blow, I'm like, hey, you know, listen to this sermon that I just heard that resonates, and this podcast, you know, just something positive that expresses the way I feel. Maybe if I'm not able to explain it myself,
Or if
I'll
I'm not
find
able just
another
to,
way to express myself. I
yeah,
guess, too.
and even me capturing that information, you know, you sending it a different way, whether it be a reel of some sort,
Yes.
right, or a podcast with a good message attached to it. And I think that's another thing that's been really, really important, really key, especially, you know, this last year, is our faith, our commitment to God, you know, as a family, not only just, you know, individually as people ourselves, as a couple, right, as a married couple, but also our kids,
Right.
you know.
That foundation.
That foundation now is there, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit more. But you know, as my career kind of progressed, you know, here was Jose working 6-7 days a week, and then, you know, up comes the moment where, hey, you want to open up an office?
Yes. I
And
still remember.
and here we go. You know what I mean? And then, which was what, almost 10 years ago, 8-10 years ago, and now I had to, you know, because I then committed again to an opportunity, because I'm very, very big on just going 100%. I took on that challenge, and I took on that challenge not knowing how to do it, but I was committed to it, and I learned. And again, that took more sacrifice on my end, which then again sacrificed more time away from you guys.
Right.
You know, and those are things that I need to live with. You know what I mean? That you know, I can always say I wish I can go back in time and you know, when the kids were little and things like that. But
I think it's all perspective. I think we needed that to happen, though, to be where we're at now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you have to go through certain, I guess, rough patches in your life. I think that's growth. I think that that's how you evolve as a person. So, I mean, obviously going through it, it was hard, but now being in the position we're in now, I'm glad it had to happen. You know what I mean? I think for both of us, it taught me a lot about myself. I know you've evolved a lot. You know what I mean? So it had to happen. I don't, you know, regret anything,
Yeah.
I guess. And it's just
no,
it's growth.
you make a good point. You know,
growth.
because we you know, a lot of us victimize ourselves as to why is this happening to me, and instead of thinking that this is happening for a reason. You know what I mean? And things happen for a reason.
Right.
It's not happening to you, but happening for you, as the old Tony Robbins quote says, right? But even that, even opening up an office took time, it took commitment, it took dedication, and you were working at the time,
Right.
and then it came down to another decision that you needed to make.
Yes.
Where I think it was December 2017 that you finally quit your job.
Yeah, it took me, I believe it was like 6 months to make the decision. I remember when you brought up the conversation again, I was like, oh God, here we go again. And I think, obviously to you, I didn't fully express how I was feeling. I would just kind of go pray about it. And I'm like, okay, God, you lead the way, I will follow. He's always been there for us. You know what I mean? When we've had our rough times and we've turned to him for direction and we've prayed about it, he just always delivers. So for me, that's where I found comfort, is just sometimes I didn't want to put that extra weight on you because I know you had a lot to deal with already. So I would just pray about it. And there was one comment that you made to me, and, because I love my job. I was, once again, working at a good place. They took very good care of me. I was very happy where I was at. And I remember one day you just came to me and said, I'm going to need your help. And I said, okay, what do I need to do? And you said, well, with the kids, I'm going to start the office, and if you can be home with the kids and be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm like, oh man, okay, here we go. Prayed about it. And you made a comment to me and you said, you can help grow someone else's business, or you can help me grow our business. And for me, Jose, I will always go all in for you.
Yeah.
I know what you're capable of doing. So I'm like, okay, that's all you had to say. And I said, okay, God, we're making the move. We're making the decision. And I quit my job and we embarked in a new journey.
A new journey. Yeah. And I think that's powerful what you just said and what you reminded me of right there when you said, I believe in you, and you allowing me, me asking you the question and you allowing me to go provide.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of us fail, as entrepreneurs, is that we feel that we have the support of our spouse or our partner, but maybe some of us need to hear it, but we haven't heard it because we really haven't communicated with each other. And again, that's something that's it's still evolving for us. Our communication is still evolving. For those that really do know me, I don't talk too much. I may talk a lot here and I may talk a lot on the phone and on Zoom. And it's kind of ironic that I'm even saying this because I'm a real estate coach. But when it comes to being at home, I it's not that I'm shut down, but I'm a different person, and I think that's another thing that I needed to work on, was that I gave so much to my work, and whether it was being an agent or whether it was opening up the office and recruiting agents and training those agents, that I gave it 100% in the work environment, and then I would come home and then I'd be like running at 50%.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was even something that I needed to work on, because you guys need me at 100.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I felt, that I was doing this 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day at the office, that I needed a break. And the reality is that I wasn't prioritizing. I thought I had a schedule, but I didn't have my priorities set.
Yeah.
And that's something now that I really, really talk about and I really discuss, is that you got to schedule your priorities. And you, the kids, God, right, are the priorities. And if those aren't fulfilled, I can't do what I go do.
Right.
It just doesn't feel right anymore. You know what I mean? And the office grew, and I think now, and even growing the office, then COVID hit.
Oh, that was another, once again, just that transition over. I think it's only been a handful of times, honestly, since then. We've been dating for mean, we've been
been
together.
married,
Well,
yeah.
we started dating in high school, married for 20 years. But since I've known you, I can seriously, it's just a handful of times where I've seen you in that state where just down, like trying to, like maybe second guessing yourself and your purpose, and during COVID, obviously, everything changed, but you just always find a way.
Yeah.
You just always find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
I think you're being really nice to me right now. And when I say that, is that during COVID was obviously it was something that we had never experienced, period. Never thought it'd happen.
yeah.
But I was on phone calls at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, trying to figure out
it out.
what was going to happen, what the next move was going to be. And, we were deemed as essential employees, which I was at the office all the time. I was downright set forth that my office was still going to be structurally safe, sound, secure, financially, everything. And that commitment there, again, led to maybe not committing more, enough, I should say, enough at home.
Yep.
Which continued the issues, right?
Right.
Continued certain things. And I remember a conversation that I had with a really good friend of mine, Pastor Juan. And, I was kind of having a conversation with him in the office, and it was actually a fresh of breath air because there was no one in the office except for me and my assistant in the front. And I would walk out, I would shut my door in my office, and I would just make phone calls. And again, I just needed to stay in that mindset of we're going to push through this and we're going to make it. And I don't care. I was still trying to interview agents. I was trying to keep agents motivated with their work because they felt some kind of way. And Juan comes into my office, and I was kind of sort of expressing to him, the issues and the arguments and the challenges that we were having at home. And he said something very, very deep to me. And he said this. He said, well, you got to understand something, my man. He's like, you have to understand that Satan will bless you just as much as God will. And Satan is blessing you with finances and with this so that you can stay where you're at. And that hit. And I think that's when things started to change more for me.
Yeah.
And obviously now we're kind of getting through the whole COVID situation and people are starting to come back. Things were okay for a little bit. You know what I mean? Things were okay for a little bit. The next thing that happened was the shutting down of the office. And, as much as I can kind of touch on that topic itself, the office shut down about a year ago, give or take. Yeah, I think we're coming on the 1 year anniversary of it shutting down. And I had a little bit of moment. I had a little moment there. You were there.
We both did.
We both did in our own right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you were still there. And how did you take shutting down the office? How did you see me when that office shut down? I mean, I always refer to that office as my baby.
Oh yeah.
And that was something that I created and I built from scratch, and it went away. And it went away fast.
Right. It was rough because obviously we invested so much time, blood, sweat, tears. I mean, at times we talked about divorce, almost lost our marriage, building that office. That's the truth. It was hard. But once again, like I said, I think it taught us a lot. And I think it brought us closer to each other because we had to help. I was dealing with obviously having you process everything, obviously the emotions, the negative emotions that you were feeling, plus my feelings, plus the uncertainty of everything that was happening, So it was hard, but I had to keep it together and just kind of support you and just say, okay, what's next? What are we doing? What's next? How are we going to get through this? And, we allowed ourselves to process the emotions, all the negative emotions, but we had to quickly figure it out.
Yeah.
I think like we just always done that, Sometimes I'll lean on you because I'm feeling a certain way, and sometimes you'll lean on me,
Yeah.
and it's.
Well, I think it's fair to say that I think I've leaned on you more.
Jesus, Jose, yes.
I've leaned on you more, when it comes to certain things. And I remember you told me, pray about what's next. And I remember telling you, man, I wish I could get more time to coach.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I had more time so I can build my coaching business, because even though the office was kind of in the middle of its transition down, the coaching business had kind of just started.
Yeah, you were starting to tap into it a little bit more.
Yeah, which you were still kind of like, what are you doing now?
I just sometimes just hear you and support you and just, okay, babe, what's, do you.
And that's important. That's important that, I think I want everybody to understand is that we're asking for support, from our spouse, from our partner, from, a friend, a family member, ask for support. It's okay to ask for support. I think maybe the way I grew up, I felt alone a lot, but I came to you for support.
And I'm the opposite. If I need help, I'm like, hey, and thank God we're blessed with a good support system. Our family, they're always supporting us. We have got a really good group of friends that have always supported us and been there for us. So sometimes for me, when I couldn't lean on you because you were doing your thing and you were focused, I could lean on a friend. I could lean on my sister, my parents. So I'm blessed that I've had that support system when it wasn't at home.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was definitely a blessing for me, and that helped me go through a lot of the difficult times.
Yeah. And I think, in hindsight now, things are going well with coaching. The office is not there.
Even that's been a blessing. You know what I mean? Sometimes God removes certain things from your life because he's forcing you sometimes to go in a different direction. And I think for you at the moment, we saw it like, oh my gosh, we worked so hard to get this office up and running, and now it's just been taken away from us. And we forget that sometimes God has a bigger plan for you
100%.
And wants to take you in a different direction. And like, you touched on your coaching. I would always see you light up when you would talk about coaching. And in a sense, now it makes sense. We were going through it. It was hard, but now it makes sense that he had to take that from you because he had something else planned for you.
Yeah. And it took a little while for me to see.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was still stuck in that feeling.
Yeah, the emotions, the negative emotions.
And I needed to let go of that. I needed to release it. And that's something that I want everybody to understand is that if you are going through a negative patch, a moment, a season in your life because of something personal or something business related, it's okay to go through that emotion, go to somebody.
Feel it, yeah.
Go to someone and express it, release it, feel it, acknowledge it, whatever you need to do, but you got to ultimately let it go.
Yep.
And to your point, you said earlier, God removed that office from me because he had a much bigger, plan, which was to continue to fulfill my purpose.
Which was scary. Which was scary. I remember you were like, oh, okay, now I'm being forced to, move forward with this. And I'm like, well, I think that's where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, I think I've even brought that point, I've shared that moment in time with several of the members and even now to everybody here, right, is that in a way, kind of, you got to be careful what you pray for because you will get it. You may not get it in the way that you want it packaged up in a silver platter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When it's served, timing. It's not your timing, it's his timing. Mm-hmm. And when the office, again, shut down, it was his timing. He says, okay,
it's
stop.
Happening now.
It's happening right now. Go do what I created you to do.
Yes.
So we have to be careful what we pray for, because you're not going to get it in the way that you want it. It's his timing, not yours. And that's something that I had to embrace, you know, and accept, you know, because that in itself, the way it was delivered was not the way I had planned in my mind. It wasn't in my timeline.
Definitely.
But we're here now.
Yeah.
You know, and now I think it's safe to say that, you know, coaching is going well. It's expanding, it's scaling out. You know, we're in multiple states across the country, traveling a little bit to kind of really put the name out there and push the brand out there. But I think overall, the schedule has been a lot better.
Oh, definitely. I think, you know, everything, all the struggles that we went through all those years, the season that we're in now, you know, even with our kids, you and I as a husband and wife, it's everything we've prayed for, and we're enjoying it now. You know what I mean? We can actually enjoy each other's company. We have our coffee in the morning, and you don't have that crazy schedule anymore. And you prioritize, you know, not just our marriage, but time with our kids. You know, you and Anthony just went on a road trip, you know, just the two of you guys. And I know that made such an impact in his life. You spending time with Christina, you know, that bond, that father-daughter bond that you guys have. It's been beautiful to see, you know, how much you've evolved, not only as a coach, but as a person.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I think it's also cool to say that I think after 20 years, we've also figured out our roles.
Yes. That's
And
been very
respect
important.
our roles. You know,
Yeah.
Your role is very important as a supporting wife, as a supporting mother, as, you know, and I respect what you do. And in the contrary, you respect what I do,
Yeah.
and the role that I play. And with that respect, it continues to build our relationship stronger.
Right.
You know, we both seek him. You know, we spend time with him in devotional. That's something that we've really prioritized in our relationship, is really just seeking him and going towards and reading devotional together, going to church more, sharing takeaways that we've gotten from church, and sharing podcasts. Hey, check this one out. Check this one out. You know, little things here and there that have really just, again,
Made a
allowed
difference.
us- It made a huge difference. Not only as individuals, but as a husband and wife. And I'm enjoying the season that we're in right now. You know what I mean? And I think in retrospect, in hindsight, if we all take a little bit of time and just understand our partner, our spouse's role, and how important and how impactful it is, you'll appreciate them a lot more. Because I know there was a time where, you know, maybe appreciation wasn't all there.
Right.
You know, but now I 100% appreciate you. I love you so much, and I cannot function. The person that I am is not me. It's a result of the support and the love from her. You know, and
I do what I can.
You do what you can. You know, and that's again, that's why we're here. And we wanted to share this with everybody. We wanted to share a glimpse into our relationship with our audience. I'm sure we'll do this again, you know, just to kind of give people more of a peek behind the curtain as to who we are, how we function. Things are not perfect.
No,
not perfect.
definitely not.
You know, there are certain things that she doesn't like about me. You know what I mean? But it's okay. We've accepted that. That's our relationship.
Yeah,
you know
but I think we have fun now. You know what I mean? When we go through, we even laugh about some of the arguments that we sometimes get into. We're like, okay, that was silly.
Yeah.
Like, that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think there's been a lot of growth, and that's what I'm telling you. I think we had to go through all those trials, all those, I mean, we met when we were so young. We pretty much grew up together, you know? So
You got me young, huh?
I'm telling you, you saw something good, you didn't let it go. But yeah, I think we've grown up together, and I mean, you know, there's a lot of blessings in between, and we got through it, and I think there's still a lot more to be done.
A lot more to be done, and a lot more to be done. So we want to thank everybody for your time, your attention. We really, you know, we hope that you consider commenting on this, sharing your thoughts, liking it, subscribing to the podcast, share it with someone that you love. Your support system is number one. You cannot be the person that you are without a supportive system. Again, whether that's a husband, wife, partner, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, father, mother, cousin, someone's got to be there to support you. Make sure you appreciate them. Make sure that you express that. Make sure you communicate with them. Make sure that you understand your role. Make sure you really understand their role, because everyone's role plays a huge part in your success. So with that said, thank you, everybody. Any parting thoughts, babe?
No, I think you pretty much touched on everything that we've applied. And like you said, even if you don't have, family, friends to lean on, you can always turn to God and just pray about it, and He will definitely guide you.
100%. Absolutely.
So,
all right, guys. Thanks
thank
again.
you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.